and a half.
Hey, everyone.
Hey, everybody.
Thank you so much for waiting. We have been busy working behind the scenes, so pardon our construction and dust and maybe a little bit unkempt appearance this morning. But we are so excited to share with y'all the iFi DEX. That's the infrastructure finance, so like DeFi or decentralized finance, infrastructure finance. Instead, focuses on how we can deliver fintech and the financial tooling for utilities like telecom, energy, and infrastructure. So we think a lot about things like what is a radio towers and fiber optic cables and those sorts of things, and have created a purpose-built layer one. And now the DEX to go along with it. So you really have created an entire, not only ecosystem, it's kind of cheesy, but I've been saying the ethos system. Really, it's really driven by those purposes and the reliability, the robustness, sovereignty, and resiliency needed for this particular industry segment, which is your utilities. You certainly don't want your internet going off or your electricity stopping. So without further ado, I'm going to turn this over to Justin, who's going to kind of walk through this. If you have questions, please jump into the hi Decentralized Rob says hi. Thanks for being here. Drop them into the chat in YouTube or on our Discord channel. We're here to help you. Mario's in our Discord channel as head of community. It's collaborative. So if you have questions as you're going along, jump in there. We'll be happy to answer them. And a Discord is where you're going to want to be for the testnet. If you have questions there, find us there. So without further ado, I will turn this over to Justin. He's going to share a little bit more about all the cool bells and whistles and the purposes behind the iFi DEX, and give you all a little bit of a tour. And again, please do keep in mind it's pardon our dust. So you're getting here in on the ground floor in the alpha, and this is why we need all y'all is to kind of kick the tires, figure out where there might be some gaps or where the UI maybe doesn't make sense. So appreciate everybody who's involved in this early testing. And Justin, please go ahead.
Yeah. Hey, everybody. So this is the iFi DEX, which has been a long time coming. If you take a look at blog.althea.net, you'll find that I have an entire series of blog posts about the iFi DEX. And it is the native DEX for Althea L1. So when we set out, well, first of all, we're not really in the habit of underdoing things around here. So when we set out to build the iFi DEX, we really tried to take a look at what our requirements were. So we needed both just a native DEX for Althea L1, but also one that was innately appropriate for our machine-to-machine payments use case. So that came with the efficiency, the speed, the low fees, the various bells and whistles that are needed for an efficient machine-to-machine payment system. And this is something that we've experienced frequently running Althea routers. And sort of one of the big distinguishing factors about Althea L1 is that unlike, well, every other blockchain project I've heard of, we built the application first and the platform second. So for the Althea routing and billing bandwidth selling protocol, which has been operating for years and is providing home internet to thousands of homes and businesses. As we designed and built Althea L1 as a purpose-specific platform for this application going into the future, we were able to see a lot of problems, and we're like, okay, that's a big issue. Particularly if you have thousands of, be they autonomous routers, vending machines, car chargers, smart meters, and they need like a little bit of native token dust for transaction fees. That's actually a really big coordination issue. Because for your individual wallet, DeFi is a little hard, takes a little while to set up. But for the deep index, we had to make sure it was all machine navigable so that you can bring any token into Althea L1 and you're set. You can deal with gas, you can deal with efficient swapping, et cetera, et cetera. So this brings us to some of the cool sort of design properties of the iFi DEX on Althea L1, and that is that it is a at this point, significantly modified fork of ambient DEX. And so you're probably familiar with Uniswap. You're probably a little bit less familiar with ambient. Ambient is a DEX platform that its key feature is, well, the amount of features it has. The original authors, who did an incredible job, managed to do stuff just about every feature into this DEX platform. And what we have done for Althea 1 and the iFi DEX is make it easier to use, more accessible, and build an ecosystem around it. Now, let's go ahead and get started. So let me go ahead and present. So this is test.althea.link. And you can go right now and see everything I'm seeing if you feel like it. Now, just pardon, there's going to be a few rough edges here that we're going to sort out over the next day or two. We've just been getting all the tokens and pools set up for the testnet. So first off, Althea.link is is sort of your DeFi hub for Althea L1. It has staking, governance.
Could you make that a little bit bigger?
Sure, yeah. I forget my monitor's
Screen for you.
How's this?
Yes.
Right? So you see it starts with a bridge page. So this is direct bridge from Ethereum to Althea and back for any token you have in your wallet. From there, you have staking, governance, pools in the iFi DEX, swapping on the iFi DEX, and just an assets page to see what's in your wallet on each different chain. So this helps you deal with any ambiguity about where funds may be. But yeah, let's get to the exciting part, which is the pools page. So the iFi DEX pools are a little bit different than what you might be expecting based on experience with, say, Uniswap. So iFi DEX pools are, imagine if you overlaid into one pool 3 different types of liquidity. One is Uniswap v2 style liquidity, where you sort of have half of each token. Then Uniswap v3 and v4 style concentrated liquidity is also possible. And then you add a third type, which is knockout liquidity. And knockout liquidity is, imagine a concentrated liquidity position, except you create it as all one token type. And once it becomes the other token type, it's automatically removed. This is essentially a limit order, except it's liquidity in the pool, which is very different from how, say, Uniswap handles limit orders. So Uniswap limit orders are actually swaps that are signed to be executed at some time in the future, which means that you're limited to the amount of liquidity the pool has. And you experience slippage. So if a pool has $1 million in liquidity and you try and do a $500,000 limit order on Uniswap, you're not going to have a good time. You're going to have huge slippage. But if a pool has $1 million in liquidity and you try and do a $500,000 limit order in the iFi DEX using knockout liquidity, you're actually going to be just fine. You're not going to have a price impact. It may take a significant amount of time for your trade to execute. So what we're trading off here is time versus slippage. And the iFi DEX with knockout liquidity for limit orders assumes that you want the best execution possible and you're willing to wait for that. So it will take as long as it takes, but you will always get the price that you need. So yeah, we have a lot of different interesting pools here. So if we go to add a position, you'll see this explains what concentrated is versus ambient, which is Uniswap v2 style liquidity. We can add some liquidity here. And we have a nice little range selector, which is not quite working today, but we'll get that done by tomorrow. Yeah, so I mean, that's sort of pool additions. Each of these pools, when you swap in them, is similar to swapping with like a DEX aggregator on Ethereum, where it's combining multiple different pools with different liquidity curves to give you the best execution, except that happens automatically inside each pool on the iFi DEX. So the cool thing is that this provides sort of an ecosystem worth of pools, the efficiency of a swap aggregator, with just one pool, which is great for our particular use case, machine-to-machine payments and machine-to-machine swaps, because it means when a smart device needs to do a swap for whatever reason, maybe the owner wants to swap their earnings to a particular different token, etc. There is no like, oh, what pool should I use, etc., etc. The routing is simple. It just comes to the one pool, which has many different types of liquidity in it, and it gets the most efficient swap possible. Now, speaking of, if I head over to the swap page, you'll see we have two options here, just a normal swap and a limit. Down here, you'll see some example limit orders. So this box only pops up once you create a knockout liquidity position, aka a limit order, at which point you can see what positions are open, filled, closed. So closed is when you withdraw before the position executes. Open means it hasn't executed yet, and filled means it has executed and you need to go and claim the successful swap. So you see the cool thing here is that we have a gasless toggle. Now this is where some of you are going to be kind of interested in this, especially those people who like running validators, sort of people who like getting into the technical operation of these sorts of platforms, is that there is an incentivized role here to relay the gasless transactions. So for the testnet, everybody's going to receive $100,000 in USDS, testnet dollars, not real money. And they will bridge in from the testnet Althea network. So they'll get to test out the bridge page, they'll come in here, and they won't have any Althea. And that's because we want to test a key part of our onboarding, which is the ability to use gas swaps in order to do that initial swap for some Althea for gas. And this is really important for us because we don't want to just have a faucet where people are looking for, hey, can somebody give me some dust for my first transaction? That's, like I said, it's not a good way to run a machine-to-machine payment platform. And second, it tests what is the first consumer of our first-class gasless swap ecosystem. And you're like, well, Justin, what's that? Well, once again, blog.althea.net. There's a whole blog post about it. But essentially, there are a network of transaction hosts. And what happens is that if you're a front end, if you're an application, if you are some device that is looking to do a gasless swap, you sign a gasless transaction with a tip. And then you submit it to one of these hosts. And these hosts, it's really just an endpoint that holds the transaction, while a relayer, which is a program that anyone can run a relayer and have the opportunity to submit that transaction to the Althea blockchain, pay the Althea fees, and receive the tip. And this open network of relayers is sort of similar to how we executed Gravity's open relayer environment, which has been really successful. There are a lot of participants, working to claim the user's fees and perform the transaction relaying to pay the ETH fee for the Gravity Bridge relay. Same concept, but for Althea fees on Althea chain, Althea L1, I should say. So what'll happen here is that when I swap USDS to Althea, it's going to consume some of that USDS for fees. So we can do that when I add some. To do that, I need to deposit some into my DEX balance first, which that's a bit of a UX problem. So we're looking for feedback on how exactly to make this intuitive. So gasless transactions ambient need the tokens to be inside the DEX. So you have to hit the deposit button, add a few tokens to your DEX balance, and then after that, you can do gasless swaps as much as you like. Now, the deposit itself can be gasless because otherwise there would be problems there. So then, yeah, and then up here, if we click, we can go from the gasless swap interface over to the limit interface, where you can set a limit order, which is just knockout liquidity. And then that shows up over here. Oh, yeah. So as you can see, there's a lot of bells and whistles, and everybody on the testnet is going to be testing sort of the entire experience here end to end. So they're going to be going from the test Ethereum to Althea L1 over a testnet Gravity Bridge. and they'll have the opportunity to test out gasless onboarding, gasless swaps, and sort of the whole ecosystem there. Yeah, let's see. I think that's the whole intro. There's a lot more to say in the blog post and a lot about the history of the design of this DEX, what it took to develop this far, and sort of why it is uniquely good for what we're doing on Althea L1. We have just completed an audit on this, an audit on our changes to the ambient code base, thanks to least authority. And yeah, I think we're probably going to have a little bit of a rocky first week on the testnet where people are like, why doesn't this button work properly? Because so far we've just been testing it, once off, like, okay, we've got this feature done, let's test it. We got this feature done, let's test it. I expect that as we see a variety of different users and use cases, we'll have a little bit of confusion and a few like platform-specific problems. But I'm hoping that by the second week, everything's really smooth and we can get into our sort of the objective of this testnet. So first of all, this is not an incentivized testnet. There is no prize for winning. Please keep that in mind. But there is an objective. If you wish to sign up, you will be receiving $100,000 in testnet USDS. And the one with the most Althea at the end wins. So sort of towards the end of the testnet, we're going to be doing a series of events where we essentially really try and dial up the amount of market movements, come in and do some simulate some whales swapping around, big positions, just kind of generate chaos and see if we can break anything. Because once things stop breaking on their own, it's still a testnet. There's no point in not going further and seeing what we can manage to do. So there's going to be an event towards the end of the testnet where we literally get all the participants on a single call just to do as many swaps as possible all at once, and that will be our stress test event. And I'm looking forward to seeing you all there. Now, I know that I have just dumped a huge amount of information in a very small amount of time. This is a frequent problem I have. I am open for questions. Anything anybody wants to know?
So while I take a look and see if there's some questions over there too, I did want to let everyone know, as Justin said, we've given you all a lot of information in a short amount of time, to head over to Discord where you can request your token distribution. You can ask questions. The documentation and FAQ will be there. It's not there right now. It's going to be there pretty shortly. Just a few little wrapping up. But yeah, Discord's where you're going to want to be to kind of review, see what you need to do, and get your tokens, which is what, forgive me if I mispronounce, someone is asking, one, how will the test tokens be distributed via faucet? And secondly, how long will the testnet last?
So the target is about 2 weeks for the testnet length. It may be extended if we have more problems than we expect. And no, you will put your address in the Discord channel. Be sure you have signed up in the sign up Google form. And people who have will receive tokens. We're probably going to add a token segment to that sign up Google form. So if you're coming in late, you haven't signed up yet, you can just paste your address there and you'll get some testnet tokens. Yeah, we're doing this to try and reduce the amount of spam. Faucets get a lot of spam in testnets. And specifically because of the way we have tuned this, the testnet participants are getting a fairly sizable amount of tokens relative to the total liquidity, so that things can, so that they can actually have an impact on the price and really, do something in the testnet rather than go and do a swap that doesn't move the price at all and doesn't cause things to change very much.
This is your time to be a whale, y'all. And make whale moves and seize the pride of being the one with the most Althea at the end of this for our stress test. So there'll be also an invite for the stress test event, which is looking to be probably the first week of May. Like Justin said, a couple of weeks here for us to kick tires, get things cleaned up, do stress test event, wrap up anything else that needs to be wrapping up, and then we'll be moving into the next steps where production starts to happen. And so yeah, pretty exciting stuff. And as Justin said, there's you are all the whales that get the opportunity to shape how Althea, and especially the front end of Althea, looks and is designed. So appreciate everyone's efforts here.
Yeah, and just to kind of come in and talk about one thing that let's see. How soon will the main DEX come out? So once the testnet's over, the main launch process is going to start, and that shouldn't take but a week or two.
Yeah. And I think that's just something a little bit I can riff on a bit, because you may have noticed that many other blockchains, they kind of come out with the TGE, it's a big thing, and then then they sort of figure out their product afterward. And but with Althea, we take a very iterative approach and have since the beginning. So since we started working on this late 2017, it's been very much methodically one after the other: reliability, robustness, and one step in front of the other to create this product the way it is, to be designed specifically for this infrastructure audience. So it's going to behave a bit different in terms of how we think about this like launch. And really is just a progressive lead up to production, to a production state, is a little bit more how I think we think about launching, right, as a production state, the ability to use it, which comes with a lot of testing and iteration. So we've been working on this for about 7 years, and have proven out a lot along the way, and done so together with our customers and together with the feedback of users like yourselves. So this is what made Althea really special.
Yeah. And I think what's really interesting about the iFi DEX is the strong knockout liquidity and sort of limit order support. And it's something that when using the DEX, people should really consider heavily. Like, how can I take advantage of this feature? Because it's really unique. It's something that doesn't really exist outside of the other ambient DEX users and centralized exchanges. So I'm really excited to see how that is used, and I'm also just generally excited to see the performance with a lot of people swapping on this. We've done a lot to try and make this faster, easier to use, better to work with. So hopefully we can really put it to a stress test and find some issues, fine tune it, and make sure it's ready for the launch.
Yep, absolutely. So we'll be in Discord helping. Also Mario or Will is there as well. If you have any questions, we can help out, or need to put your address in there and get the tokens, get things started. As Justin said, today is going to be a little bit rocky, so you may want to wait if you want to really maybe get your testnet tokens today, and then start really diving into it a bit more. Read the documentation today, tomorrow, kind of spend more time on it. But yeah, appreciate everybody's patience. Thanks for joining us today on this call. Look for the invite for the stress test. We'd love to have you there. And I think that's it. Appreciate everybody. Thanks, everyone.